morning and happy Friday, and welcome back to the NOFO Live Show, where I, Sunita, along with my two co-hosts, Tracy from Miss Tracy Kessler and Kelly from NOFO Endless Summer, we hop on every Friday and chat about everything North Fork. It is brutal cold here today. It is howling wind. If you don't have to leave the house, I don't plan to. I do have plans for the evening to go listen to some live music at a local vineyard, and I'm almost tempted to either not go or I have to dig out some super warm winter coat to get out. I think it's a low of 12 today. I mean, it feels like 1, and I think it's even lower tomorrow. So bundle up, people. And it was Groundhog Day yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah. And apparently the groundhog saw its shadow, so it sounds like it's going to be a little bit of a winter, a little bit longer. I must say, the sunsets have started to move backwards towards the normal time, and it is at 5. Yesterday it was 5:06 p.m. So that's heartwarming, and I feel like, okay, spring is coming, but I'm glad we do this from the comforts of our own homes. So we are all
morning.
Good morning, Kelly. How are you?
Are you?
Are you cold?
I haven't stepped outside yet today.
I haven't stepped outside either, but I can hear it.
I'm feeling okay right now, but
do you have to go out?
So Patrick has a half day at school, which stinks because that means I have to go out and get him and then come home and then go back out and pick up Riley. So it's gonna be a lot of in and out coldness.
Well, I think it's the wind, though. I mean, the cold is fine. We all can deal with that. But the wind is so strong. Like, I can feel it coming through the creaks of every crack of every window in my house. And I'm like,
I have these set of windows right by my sofa. And, like, when you sit and watch TV and it is cold and windy, I actually feel cold.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mary's commenting.
Did
you see Mary's comment? She said her tears froze on the way.
Tears. Oh my God.
I can see. I think, but it might be a fun thing to try with the kids. We tried once a long time in New Jersey. Like and maybe it's not that cold today, but if you throw like boiling water or just throw water into the air, the droplets freeze as they come down.
Like a science experiment, if you blow bubbles, the bubbles like crystallize and you could see the like little flakes inside.
I mean, we've got to find some winter fun because it's tough. And I think it's going to be colder tomorrow, so buckle up.
Oh, no. I actually caught the sunset last night. I thought of you because I was like, I had some downtime between like 4 and 7, and I went and got looked at the sunset in Kachag because they have great sunsets there and I never take advantage and they're so close to my house. So I went and it was so nice, but I think it's probably the last one I'll see for a while with this cold.
Well, I mean, yesterday I actually, it was too cloudy, but it got a really nice post-sunset glow. I don't know if you stayed for after, because the after was...
I didn't stay for after. My fingers started to become numb.
See, I sometimes have to time how quick, like when it's really nice, I go there 15, 20 minutes early so I can just walk and soak it. Other times I'm like, what time is the sunset? Like 4 minutes or 3 minutes before.
I know, I tried to time it properly, but I may have maybe gotten there a little early. Saltwater Long Island, which is a store in the Hamptons, they have a really fun brand, just said thank you guys for all of the NOFO recommendations. They went out to the North Fork yesterday. We'd love to have you guys on the show and tell us all the things that you did on the North Fork, and maybe we'll get a Saltwater Long Island store here soon. Who knows?
That sounds fun. What kind of stuff do they have, Kelly?
They do their own designs, and they have, I would say it would be like similar vibe to like a Vineyard Vines kind of thing with the or like a Life is Good, like with the t-shirts and the pretty turquoisey pastels, and they have their own logos and designs with all like saltwatery boat fish things.
Oh, perfect for the North Fork. Just wanted to shout out, I am trying to, there they come. I kept saying NOFO Community Theater came join, but I guess they finally joined. And I don't know where Tracy is. I know, I saw her story this morning.
Posted like an hour ago that she was working out and she had 3 children.
I know,
so
I was
something
like, wait a minute,
must have gone awry.
Okay, I see her trying to hop in now. I need to hear about these children first, because then she was having the children wave, and I was like, is this like a future? Have I arrived 10 years from now? And Tracy's working out, and we need to hear all about this, Trace. You are the guest of the show today. We're just going to have to wait to talk about the theater. What's going on
a
with
good
you
friend
this
of
morning?
mine from my fourth trimester support group is having trouble finding childcare. So we're doing a childcare share situation, but my babysitter doesn't get here until 9, which is when our show starts. So normally I'm like throwing Tilly at her and running upstairs to do the show, except I have 3 children to throw at her today. So, yeah, so, but actually I'm so proud of myself, because I gotta say, I was a little nervous. Like I only have 1 kid. So I was like, how am I gonna do this? I fed everybody breakfast, and then I started working on it. It was the cutest thing. Katerina, I was having her help me count. You know, I was like, what comes after 2? What comes after 3? And then halfway through the workout, she goes, can I do it? And it was the most, it just goes to show, like, they are watching, right? And they're learning from us. So I was like, oh my God, that's so cute. Yes.
And at different stages of their age, you're interacting with them differently. So obviously, Katerina, is that her name, is a little bit older, so you can engage with her. Because when you said wave, Tilly, I thought Tilly was actually going to wave.
Yeah, Tilly was like, I don't know how to
Tilly
do
was
this.
like, we do this every morning, Katerina. I'll let you take this one.
So, well, good. So, sounds like you're already warmed up and ready for the day. I don't know if it's cold by you, but it's brutal here.
Brutal. Yeah.
All right, back to the regular show now.
Thank you.
Well, welcome.
Can you introduce yourself and tell us where you're from and give us a little rundown
absolutely.
on
My
the
name
theater?
is Liz Lazenke. I'm currently the president of the board of directors at the North Fork Community Theater. I've been involved there for almost 10 years. I am a local North Forker. I grew up in Greenport, so this has been my home for as long as I can remember, but I currently live in Riverhead. The theater is just one of my favorite things about the North Fork. It's another way to define home, and it becomes a home for so many people. Right now, we are in a current run of the show Ripcord. So this is our last weekend of that show. So that's an exciting thing that's happening. But the best thing about the NFCT is you might see that a current show is running, but there's always a million things happening at the theater. As this one is wrapping up this weekend, we have another one in rehearsals for their show. We're planning the auditions for our big spring musical, which is Sunday in the Park with George. And the North Fork Community Theater has been on the North Fork since the 1950s. So we've been serving the community for a very long time.
And
tell us a little
I was
bit
going to say, and I also know that you do
Tracy,
Christmas caroling, because I have joined the Christmas caroling every year, and it's one of my favorite things about the Christmas season.
Yes, I love the Christmas caroling on Love Lane. I didn't get to join this year, but I have in years past, and the kids, you know, get candy canes from Santa and people join in. One year it became a collab event with some of the Girl Scouts, and it became a big fun thing. But it's always, it's the little things like that. It's not necessarily, you know, the many hours spent on a show. It is the little ways that you can get involved that mean so much more.
Yeah, and I remember that what I found really very North Fork was that, you know, I'm not a member of the community theater, but I love singing. And I had reached out to someone that I know who is, you know, a member, and everybody was so welcoming. They gave me sheet music, and they were like, you know, nobody even said like, are you sure you can sing? Which, I mean, thankfully I can. You know, it was perfect. Yeah, they were so welcoming, and it was so, you know, North Fork. It was really wonderful.
Well,
yeah, I mean, it's so apropos that it's the North Fork Community Theater, because it truly is very embracing of the community and of the members of, you know, the people who enjoy the shows as much as the people who are acting in the shows and producing the shows. So it's definitely a community affair. I just wanted to go over a little bit of the history of the building because you have a very
We
fun
do.
history
So
there.
the building was the original Mattituck Presbyterian Church, although it wasn't called that. I'm not sure exactly the name of the congregation at the time, but it was this small building, and they grew out of that, and they moved and built a bigger building, and then an even bigger building, which is the current Mattituck Presbyterian Church. And our space was unused for a little while, and then they reached out, and they're like, hey, do you want to use this space? And actually, the North Fork Community Theater started in Greenport. The very first meeting was at the Floyd Memorial Library. And they just put an ad in the paper that said, hey, anybody want to join a theater group? We want to get this started. So they kind of started meeting and then found out about this space. And we moved into the theater in a temporary way in 1954, I believe.
Wow.
And started using the space. I believe the first show by the theater was A Man Came to Dinner. And for many years, we actually leased the building from the church for $1 a year.
Oh, wow.
It was a really cool setup. And eventually, actually, about 10 years ago, in 2013, we had raised enough money to purchase the building from the church. So we do own our building now, and just the church in the actual little parking lot, and we're back up against the graveyard that's shared.
And now, since you guys have purchased the building, I have had the chance to go and tour. You are doing some amazing renovations there as well. So the theater section of the building is gorgeous, and they've got, the theater style seating and the great stage and everything, but they're undergoing these major renovations throughout the whole building. And my favorite part is the prop room. If you get a chance to go in there, it is fantastic. There's wigs and costumes and the whole
That
nine
sounds
yards.
like
You really feel
we
like
need a
you're
NOFO
on
live to
Broadway.
the prop. NOFO live visits the prop room.
Yeah, I
almost
think
actually went out to
so.
the theater and did the live from there, but I was just a little concerned that I might have some connection issues because every now and then it gets a little spotty, but I was thinking about doing it from the attic. The attic is one of my favorite projects because it was more of like a homegrown project. We did have some repairs of the space. So one of the other parts of our history is we actually had a fire in the 80s, and it didn't burn down the entire building, obviously, but the back end of the building and mainly the attic, that prop room that you saw, had a lot of damage. We had a lot of charred wood for quite a long time, and we did our best to clean it up, but it wasn't until actually during COVID, we did the renovations to that attic, to the prop room, and boxed everything in new pine, so that way, we don't have ash falling on all of our costumes and wigs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love that you have it sounds like such a beautiful space, not just the stage, but even, the prop room. I can just imagine all sorts of creative folks that come there. I know Tracy mentioned the word member. I mean, I don't know how you become a member. Is it the artists that are members? Tell me a little bit more about the people that are involved in putting
anyone
these
can
shows
become a
together.
member of the North Fork Community Theater. We do have a whopping fee of $10 a year. And it's really just, to commit to it, to have it a documentation of it. It's very easy to become a member on our website, nfct.com.
And no one is
No.
checking that you can sing or can act. You can just become a member.
I am not a singer and I am not an actor. I love theater. I love singing very loudly in my shower, but not on stage. But I do love everything else about it. And I have done set decoration and stage management and props and producing. I've produced quite a few shows. And this summer, I'm actually going to be directing solo for the first time. I'm directing the Youth on Stage program, and we're doing 9 to 5 the musical.
Yay.
So great. I just want to talk a little bit about the actual shows that you put on. So if you don't know, I was asked to do a walk-on role for when they had the producers there. Many community people were asked to do this. So I got a behind the scenes look at some of the rehearsals, at, like I said, the prop room, the set decorations, the amount of work and professionalism that go into these shows is astounding. It really amazed me that this was community theater. These actors and actresses really commit and like work their butts off to make these shows amazing. So like kudos to you guys for making this really feel like an off-Broadway kind of production.
That means a lot. I don't know that we have goals of, being Broadway level. We just, every time we have a show, it's a different production team. And the production team really sets the tone of how the show is going to go. And that production team just looks at the resources we have, who's interested in being in the show, and absolutely making the best it can possibly be with the resources we have. We are a very small theater, and therefore we've spent some money on making the acoustics fairly well, but we don't have a full microphone system. We're a small theater, and we work hard to teach our actors to project and to make that work in our space. And we always have a live orchestra pit for our musicals. And when we did those renovations that you mentioned, that orchestra pit didn't exist 10 years ago. We were able to dig out our basement and put an orchestra pit in under the stage.
Wow.
That's another amazing tour that you have to go on. It's unreal. You're in this like underneath the stage area with all of these, instruments.
Are there tours? Like, can you sign up to do a tour of the theater? Do you guys offer that?
It's not on a scheduled thing like we offer every, Sunday at whatever, but we are always willing to give a tour, and anybody who's interested, we will gladly set that up. And there are plenty of us who are willing to meet people at the theater and show them around. So I personally am willing. Stephen Ness, who's our vice president and involved in almost every single show, is always willing to give a tour.
Even gave me the tour of the prop room, so I think
he's
be
really
in charge of all
good.
the tours of the prop room because he is the best.
I feel like I just need to join, become a member, pay that steep fee, and then bring my coffee and sit there. I mean,
honestly, Sunita, I don't know if this is allowed, but like just going and sitting during rehearsals to like see this hard work that goes into these shows is just unreal. Like I don't have a passion for singing or acting or anything like that, but I cannot imagine just devoting so much time to memorizing lines and then practicing them. And
these are not paid actors, correct?
No,
these are all volunteer doing it because that's what they
my
want to be
weakness
involved
is that I think that I can take, I take on more than I can actually handle. I'm sitting here going like, can I fit in? I'm like,
Tracy's like, what role am I?
Oh, wait a minute, Tracy, you can 100%.
So
you can 100% do it. You can 100% do it. I'm not saying it's incredible. You can definitely do this.
I'm just saying, and the auditions are March 4th and 6th at the theater. The information is on our website.
Tracy, please.
And even if I can't twist your arm into auditioning, please share it with any of your friends who might be interested, because that is a big singing show.
Now,
do you
have a choreographer?
Do we have a choreographer? I believe our director on this one is handling the choreography for it. And I am fortunate enough for the summer show, I have 2 choreographers. So
because that is something that I've done in the past as well. I've choreographed all of the high school plays when I was in high school myself.
Wow.
Tracy's a jack of all trades.
Liz, I have a question. What kind of time commitment is typically involved with the show, for example? Let's say if Tracy wanted to do it, right?
So
what kind of time
perform
commitment
in a show, I'm going to give you like a typical show. It is not the same for every single show. I'm going to give our youth on stage, which is probably the most time commitment, and some shows are scaled back a little. But for our youth show over the summer, we actually do rehearsals Sunday through Thursday evenings for about 6 weeks. It's actually about 5 weeks. From the point that we audition to the first week of it opening. In the beginning, it'll be a learn the music, and then there'll be some breakout. So if you're the lead of the show, you're going to be there quite a bit. But we'll put out a rehearsal schedule and just kind of direct people for, how much of a time commitment it is.
Just to piggyback off of that, another thing that I'm also amazed at is that you guys run so many shows throughout the year. So it's this huge commitment of learning the lines and practicing and rehearsing. And then the show only runs what seems like for such a short time. Like if it was me, like putting all of this work into one show, I want it to run for like a year. Like let everybody see it. I'm always like, oh my gosh, a new one is already coming out. Like how do they even have time to rehearse and get all the people together? It really amazes me. It really does.
And actually compared to some of the other local theater groups, that it's actually longer than some, you know. And high schools, I don't understand how high schools do it, because they do all that work for like 2 or 3 shows on one weekend. Like what? Like by the time you get through the first weekend, that's like when you get your group, like when everything's settled in. But they do it. They're kids with endless energy and they just keep going. So
it sounds like a lifespan of 2 months, about 5 weeks and something for rehearsals, then 3 weeks of 3 weekends of shows, so about a 2 month.
So,
okay, so Tracy, now you have a better idea of if you have that window.
Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah.
Sure. Can I babysit in the prep room?
Yeah.
So
try on some
probably
weight.
for children. It looks like it's fun, but everything is dangerous.
I can imagine.
Including actual weapons.
Yeah.
We have some medieval swords up there. It may not be a kid-friendly space.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But what a lovely, beautiful space and creative outlet for people that are inclined to do that. I can totally see why so many get involved and put in that time and energy. I think that's part of the creative process, right, Kelly? You and I'm sure we'd be like, not only do we want to run it for a year, it needs to be replays, and then it needs to be on YouTube, so it can live on.
I know.
But people who are creative, this is what they need to do, and then they do it, and then they do it again and again.
Where
That's
do
awesome.
you
It's
list?
great.
Because like I am interested in this, and I don't know that I've ever heard when you're doing your castings. Where do you list that? Is it only on your website, or where do people find that information?
It's always on our website.
Okay.
It is on our social media.
Okay.
We do have an email list, and you do not even have to pay that steep fee of $10 to be a member just to get our emails. You can just sign up for those. So it always goes out through emails. Okay. There are some Long Island theater groups that we list through as well. So we always post on those. And then we do a lot of word of mouth spreads, to all of the schools, especially when we're looking for younger actors.
Well, we have an 11-year-old on here who said she wants in. So Mary Connick said,
tell us about the youth program. Because
our youth program each summer is for ages 14 to 22. I'm sorry, 11-year-old. But I actually have an 11-year-old signed up to help with costumes with her mom because she's too young to join us on stage this year. And I did just want to note, we talked about the time commitment for being an actor or actress in a show, but there are a million ways to get involved depending on the time commitment you have. Starting with like the lowest time commitment, you can usher for a show. You get to see the show for free. You only have to know about like a week in advance what day you're available. You talk to the producer, and we have volunteer lists that we send out. Hey, you want to usher? But then there's tech ways to get involved and helping in the box office. And we also have a volunteer cleanup day coming up on February 11th. And that's just, one day if you happen to be available. So for those that can't commit 2 full months to the run of a show, there are lesser ways to get involved and just meet more people and see if this is the right space for you.
I would also say that if someone wanted to volunteer for the tech part of it, that is a very good and well-paying career. Because I work with those guys all the time in New York City and all around the country. And that is like, if you got into that and knew sound and lights and video, like that's a very good paying career. Yeah.
We were fortunate enough to be donated a video wall, which is just a bunch of monitors put together as a great big monitor in the back. And we've had that for a couple of years now. That went in during COVID, and that is just a whole new level of technology of learning what ways can you put images up there. The show that we're running right now is Ripcord, and there's a scene where they're skydiving. So the use of the video wall, I just have to say, is worth it just for that, to see this scene and how they're falling through the sky.
I'm sure.
There's so many cool ways that you can integrate technology and the acting and the physical sets and just make the show come to life.
I actually saw
So
I'm
is
sorry,
the
I actually
show
saw
already?
Aladdin last night.
Sorry.
And they on Broadway, and they had the big screen with them on the magic carpet, and it was like, even I was like, oh.
Like, Tracy, you must be extra inspired
every time I
after
go to a
being on
show like
Broadway
that, I'm like,
last night.
did I pick the wrong career? Should I have gone in that direction?
So is Ripcord already running? Are tickets on
They
sale?
are.
What
This
are the
is
weekends
actually
you have the
last
show?
weekend for Ripcord. So tonight, tomorrow night, and Sunday afternoon are your last 3 chances to see Ripcord. And tickets are available. If you go to nfct.com, that's the easiest way. There's tickets up in the corner
What do
of
the
the
tickets
website.
generally run? How much are they usually?
Our tickets are $30.
Oh.
So they're reasonable, you know.
Yeah.
We're
No, that's a great price, and for it to be so close to home, you know, and not drive the 2 hours in a day. I think it's great.
And how we do things is to cover enough to keep our building operational. We are a nonprofit, obviously. Everything is volunteer. We do have one paid position in the entire theater, and that's our music director for the musicals. And that's it. Everyone who's coming is giving their time. Our musicians are giving their time. Our actors are giving their time. Our board of director, everybody is doing this because we love the place, we love the community, and this is how we just connect to our community.
Well, this has been such a lovely conversation that I just looked at the time and I was like, oh crap, we're running late. So I'm going to go ahead and start our NOFO Live 5, right? Our NOFO Live 5, yep. And ask you, if you were to take us out to lunch or dinner, where would you take us?
Ooh, so right now I'd have to say I would take you to Diggers, which is in Riverhead, and I know that's kind of a little bit pushing North Fork.
No.
But my
Riverhead is North Fork. Last I checked.
But
that is legitimately where the fork starts. There's a river, and that's where the fork starts. So you're good.
Fair.
You're good.
Okay, good.
Did you see on NBC though? Riverhead is named
50.
in the Forbes 50 places to visit,
like in the world,
crazy.
with all these amazing little towns.
Both forks. Both forks are going to be fighting over Riverhead soon.
So I would definitely say Diggers. It's
Wait, so what kind of food? What kind of
Diggers
food they have there? I haven't
done
been there.
pub food for a very long time, and they're trying to expand their current offerings right now, and the food is just fantastic. We had the duck confit salad last week, and it was amazing.
So my mom literally just said to me 2 days ago, I know you go to Diggers and you always get a burger, but I got the goat cheese salad. It was the best goat cheese salad I ever had. So
see, up and coming.
Okay, now I'm suddenly craving wings. I'm assuming they have those.
So now, are you a winery or a brewery person? And what's your go-to?
I would say more of a winery, and I think just because of the theater, we had one of our galas was at Sparkling Point. That's probably my favorite experience. So I'd have to go with that one as my favorite.
Now, are you a sunrise or a sunset girl?
I'm a sunset
and
girl, and I don't get out there as often because it's a little bit further away than when I was younger, but the Causeway in Orient, both sides, stunning.
Yeah.
You just can't beat it.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
I would assume that you can catch both there, right? If you get there early in the morning, if you look the other way, you can catch the sunrise.
Yeah. Jennifer Cohen was asking, where does it read? It was on Forbes, right? Forbes.
Yeah. It's special on NBC, I think, last night. Yep. You'll see it all over. I've been seeing it posted
came out a couple days ago, and it's getting more and more popular. I believe it was on News 12 yesterday. It's spreading. So, I mean,
it's amazing.
Well, there's a lot of breweries that have opened up in the last few years there, right? And a whole bunch of
scene.
Yeah.
There's a good restaurant scene now.
Yeah. What about farm stands? What's your go-to? I know there's a lot in
I feel like
that
this one's
area
a little bit cliche, but I think I'd have to go with Harbs simply because it doesn't matter when we we have visitors, they want to go there. When my nephew wants to go on like the play area, he wants to go there. And again, to tie to the theater, they've been very supportive. They've in the summer they often let us do pop-up performances there, so the kids will come out and perform for their festivals.
Oh, fun.
Every time I think of Orbs, I think of, and this is many years ago when I first started visiting here, we would stop on our way in and they have roasted corn, but they would have butter in like a big container and they would take your roasted corn, dunk it in there if you wanted butter. And I was like, okay, that's butter.
You're like,
it's delicious. It's delicious. So as soon as you said Orbs, I'm thinking, I need
that's pretty good.
That
sounds pretty good. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was such a lovely chat. It went by so fast.
Yes.
If you could sum up why you love being a part of the North Fork community, put it in a sentence or two for us.
I just have to say that it's home, but it's home to everybody in different ways. It's how, whatever your definition of home is, you're going to find it here. For me, it's, you know, theater and that group of people, but it's still, I kind of looked up the three of you last night just to see who I'd be chatting with. And your experiences are very different, but we all, I'm guessing here, North Fork, it's home to us in different ways, but it's home.
Yeah. So true.
So true. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
So much for coming on and sharing. I couldn't agree with you anymore. I think that's one of the reasons, or that is the reason we do the show, because in a different form, we all share the same common love for the North Fork. So thank you for coming on. We'll add the link for the North Fork Community Theater. So if you don't have other plans, get tickets, go check their show, and you know, follow them to see what
you might
shows
even
are
match
coming up
me
for the
in
rest of the
one.
year.
I hope so.
Yes, Tracy, please. And keep us updated, Tracy. I mean, I know you'll stay in touch with it about the holiday caroling. You know, I mean, maybe I'll sing softly. And
That's what I do. I just sing softly in the background because nobody wants to hear me sing.
I mean, I do, but I don't want to impose that on everybody else. We'll let Tracy carry our voices.
Thank you.
Happy Friday.
Thank you, ladies. See you next Friday.
Have a great